Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, MpowerHer Stop Image-Based Abuse, proudly hosted by UNFPA Vietnam. We're delighted to have you join us live on Zoom, as well as following us via the UNFPA Facebook and YouTube channels in Vietnam. Today we stand at a crossroads. On the one hand, we enjoy opportunity from digital innovation in terms of education and information sharing, but at the same time we face challenges for users, particularly those posed by image-based abuse and online harassment. And one form is TFGBV, or technology facilitated GBV. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2021, Economics Intelligence Unit produced an alarming report. 57% women have experience video and image-based abuse. And according to a Deep Trace Lab 2019 study, 96% of defect content globally is pornographic and use the images of women. Deepfake is a technique using AI to generate sound videos that are fake. So those who are impacted, whether they are adults or children, they experience trauma or psychological distress. They may experience a prolonged anxiety and even suicidal ideation. 74% of women surveyed expressed concern about rising online abuse, and 92% reported that online violence harms their sense of well-being. Those statistics shows the prevalence of this issue and underscore the urgent need for open dialogue and appropriate intervention. The webinar today is intended to improve public knowledge, to share information and skills, and how to improve the public understanding amongst the young people, to help them have a full view of different forms of image-based abuse, so that they can respond to those challenges appropriately, and we can create a safe online space for everyone. Let's join hands on this journey. My name is Thủy Quỳnh. Once again, we are pleased to welcome you to our webinar today. May I remind you that the webinar will cover image-based abuse, which may include discussion of non-consensual image sharing, cyber-sexual harassment, and deepfakes. The topics may be upsetting for some viewers, may trigger some anxieties and emotional distress. So if you need help, please, we have a toll-free hotline 1-800-01768 available to you 24/7. Without further ado, now allow me to introduce our distinguished panelists. First, may I welcome Mr. Matt Jackson, UNFPA representative to Vietnam. Our second panelist, Ms. Nguyễn Như Quỳnh, founder and CEO of CyberKit Vietnam, an institution that has fostered safety on the online space and equip digital skills to young people in Vietnam. Our next panelist, Ms. Đỗ Ngọc Phương Nguyên, coordinator of a youth-led organization Love Voyage on sexual and reproductive health. Phương Nguyên, can you give a wave to the audience? And finally, I'm pleased to introduce Nguyễn Diệu Linh, a student in media from the Academy of Journalism, one of the most outstanding contestants in our Empower mini game. Diệu Linh, can you have a greeting for the audience? And of course, the panel, the webinar today, the success of the webinar depends on you who follow us online. Please share with us your view via the chat function on Zoom or via the chat box on our Facebook fan page and YouTube channel. We will return to you as soon as we can. And at the end of the webinar, we will celebrate the winner of the MpowerHer Challenge, Stop Image-Based Abuse. Stay tuned with us until the final minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move to the main part of the webinar today. The first question is for Mr. Matt Jackson, UNFPA representative in Vietnam. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, we know that there's a situation that 85% of women globally witness online violence committed against another woman, and image-based abuse is a very common form. Mr. Matt Jackson, can you share with us some information about image-based abuse today?
Xin chào, Thuy Quỳnh và các bạn. It's a pleasure to be here today. Let's start by saying that digital platforms offer amazing opportunities for sharing and connecting, but they also provide a real risk that comes with users' content being abused or misused across various digital channels. Most at risk are women and adolescents, ethnic minorities, LGBTQ plus people. And as you said, Thuy Quỳnh, surveys from The Economist found that 57% of women and adolescent girls had experienced some form of online abuse or harassment, and 85% had witnessed online abuse being perpetrated against other women. Let me be clear, digital violence is violence. And we know that social media platforms in some cases have become crime scenes. Women and girls, minorities and the marginalised are more vulnerable to those risks and more exposed to them. They can be subjected to online slurs, harassment, or demeaning non-consensual sexual acts. Misogynistic hate and violence is devastating for those who experience it, yet it is frequently ignored by technology companies, or even governments who are sometimes slow to make laws or to find ways to prevent images from being uploaded, abused, and used without consent. And whether that be images that are shared personally, such as photos or videos, or images obtained by so-called catfish techniques, or deepfakes, as you explained earlier, these can all be very harmful to the individuals involved, and it's more pronounced among younger people and younger generations. Another study that was conducted by Plan International found that 58% of girls surveyed had been harassed or subjected to online abuse. And we know that in general terms, when we're talking about gender-based violence, over 90% of women never seek help for the violence that they face. What's also worrying is the ease with which images can be shared so frequently across different forms of technology and different platforms. Non-consensual photos can spread quickly through text messages, online forums, social media, and as you said, even end up on porn websites that fail to verify consent or even age. And the impact on those who are affected by this can be very extreme. It can be from elevated levels of anxiety through to psychological distress or trauma. And also worrying, I think, is the fear that you might feel where online threats move to the offline sphere as well, and move into stalking or other forms of harassment.
Vâng, xin cảm ơn ông Matt Jackson về
Our sincere thanks to Ms. Jackson for sharing information on TF-GBV and the tremendous impact on the victims. We have listened to Mr. Matt Jackson sharing about TF-GBV. Now allow me to share with you a couple of questions to see whether you understand what image-based abuse means. If you are following us on Zoom, you can choose the answer for the following questions. If you're following us on YouTube, please interact by leaving your answers in the comment section. So at the moment, we have quite numbers of viewers and participants joining us. So the question for you, which of the following behaviors is defined as image-based abuse? And you can choose multiple answers. First, taking photo under somebody's skirt without their consent. B, using AI tools to create sensitive images of someone without their consent for the purpose of threatening or posting on dark websites. C, sending sensitive images of oneself to others without consent. And D, taking photos, filming with malicious intent without consent. So you're going to have 15 seconds to get the right answer. Please choose your answer and interact with us. So sometimes it's not just a matter of getting the right answer for final prize. The more important thing is that it helps you understand image-based abuse. And if you interact with us, it will give us more confidence and encouragement so that we can organize even more webinars and events of this kind in the future. I assume that you already have your answers for the question. As Mr. Matt Jackson mentioned, we all know that all four are correct. All of them are forms of image-based abuse, and your answer shows that you really understand image-based abuse. In the webinar today, we expect it to be an important first step for young people to prevent and respond to image-based abuse, and I hope you can have more interaction with us to make sure we have a really meaningful webinar today. Now, let's listen to sharing about the solutions to respond to image-based abuse from the technological approach, and that's why we have panelists representing different organizations and background from UNFPA, from young people, and from a tech firm. So the next question will be for Ms. Nguyệt Như Quỳnh, CEO of CyberKit Vietnam. Can you share with us what tech firms have done and currently doing to respond to image-based abuse? Thank you, Thủy Quỳnh, for the question. In my experience, tech firms, particularly social media organizations such as Meta, Facebook, Google, and TikTok have been working very hard to develop functions to allow users to use the internet in a safer way. For example, most social media platforms already have a safety center as a built-in function, and there are functions to protect the privacies of users, and there have been many tips and handbooks already posted for people of different ages, particularly how young people can use social media and use the internet safely. Utilities such as user can report if they feel under attack, if they feel that their image is being abused. And more recently, I received news that social media platforms are developing tools to allow us to have filters for comments below their images on their personal page. Normally it's only available for a large fan page of big institutions, but now they are expanding it to individual account. Another change is that tech firms are developing awareness raising program for adolescents and young people. For example, there's several program running, for example, Be Internet Awesome by Google or We Think Digital by Meta. There are a series of training materials and booklets for young people and kids. So, and those materials are being shared out with schools as well. Most recently, I have been working with the prevention of image-based abuse, and I know a new platform that tech firms are committing to use, which is the Take It Down platform, which is developed by the National Center, the U.S. National Center for Rescuing Children who are victims of trafficking and abuse. And so they are expanding this tool and making it available for users in multiple countries. So for example, those who are victims of image-based abuse, they can send a direct report to this center and through that to many tech firms. There are many other initiatives as well, but in order to share those initiatives as widely as possible, it's what matters even more. Many young people I know, they do not fully aware of those initiatives and tools available to them, and that's why tech firms have been cooperating with schools, with local partners, to deliver those tools, those utilities, those materials, and young people can become their partners to share the messages even more widely. Right, as Như Quỳnh just shared, at the moment, tech firms are taking very active steps to protect the information and images of users and their privacy as well. But users themselves also have to increase their own defense to protect themselves. Mrs. Quỳnh, do you have some more advice for young people? So those who are using technologies, how to do that safely? So let's continue the discussion. I have a couple of experiences I wish to share with our young people. First, when we post images on social media or send images via different channels, let's be careful. So let's make sure that you're comfortable sharing and posting those images to avoid situation in which people with malicious intent can use them for bad purposes. And when you post images on social media, please make sure that the images are available only to those within their reliable circle. Some bad people may use fake accounts to become your friends and access your images. And sometimes when you share images through activities such as sexting, please make sure that you only send your images to your reliable person, to the person you trust. And avoid sending images that may reveal your identification traits, such as your face. So don't make sure that those features do not appear on the images you send. And finally, you must protect your account and all your electronic devices. You need two-layer authentication or very strong password set to protect yourself. Thank you so much, Miss Quỳnh. We appreciate your contribution to creating a safer online environment for everyone. We have listened to a representative from UNFPA Vietnam and from Miss Như Quỳnh, CEO of CyberKit Vietnam. Let's listen to another panelist, the voice of young people. So the one who plays a vital role in what we are doing here. Let's listen to a contestant in UNFPA Empower minigame. Just for your information, to participate in the minigame, the contestant is supposed to provide solution to support the character in a simulation, and the solution should be creative in preventing image-based abuse. Now may I introduce Nguyễn Diệu Linh, one of our outstanding contestants, and the solution she came up with to help the character in the situation that we use for the minigame.
Hoạt động thể thao. Cô cũng rất tích cực chia sẻ những hoạt động của mình trên mạng xã hội cùng với bạn bè. Cô rất vui vì những post của mình được rất nhiều sự quan tâm từ mọi người. Nhưng gần đây, những comment ẩn danh, quấy rối như thế này ngày một nhiều. Dường như người ẩn danh đó đang theo dõi Mai. Mai rất lo lắng và không biết nên làm gì.
So we have seen the situation, the scenario. So what should we do to help the character Mai? Good morning, panelists and audience. I chose the situation of mine because I feel that originally she's somebody who's very pure. She doesn't think much when sharing images, but then she transited to a situation of psychological distress when she feared that she may become victim of cyber stalking and even harassment. So how girls in the same situation, what can they do to protect themselves? There are several things. First, they have to control their emotion, to stay calm, to try to explore legal regulations that can protect them. Second, they must keep the evidence of themselves being subject to abuse. Third, we can find support from friends, families, and from professional organizations that can support us psychologically and legally. And fourth, we need to find support from authorities, the police, if situation gets worse. And finally, we need to be careful with those who can see our images and our personal contents on social media. We also need to learn how to use social media appropriately. For example, we should minimize the sharing of personal information or your personal emotion online. But the solution does not come from the victim alone. It should come from an average user as well. As users, we should learn how to use social media suitably, how to use our words, our verbal choices should be carefully considered, particularly the potential impact of our verbal choices on others. And there's a message which is that light will come from your choices. And more lights will create a safer online space. So thank you. Excellent. Let's have an applause for Ling for her solutions and options that she has provided. What Ling just shared not only help us understand better the perspective of young people, but also inspire all of us to join her in the journey to end image-based abuse and create a safe environment for everyone. To better understand the importance of ICT and the concerns of young people today regarding image-based abuse, let's listen to another panelist, also young person, Đỗ Ngọc Phương Uyên, coordinator of the Love Voyage or Love Journey, an initiative on sexual and reproductive health. Good morning to all audience. I'm Phương Uyên. I represent young people from the Love Voyage to share their stories and their experiences with image-based abuse. We have discussed with each other before I go to this webinar, and it's clear that there are so many stories and perspectives on this matter. For example, some well-known celebrities, they fell victim to image-based abuse. So if inside their home there's some camera installed and the cameras was hacked, and then their videos and images were shared without their consent, and I really sympathize with them. When we work on sexual and reproductive health and safety, we realize a major problem with people who love from a distance. So they cannot have intimate action with each other. So sometimes they have to choose options such as sexting or sex chatting in order to meet that demand. So there's a question, which is how we can create a safe space for them so that they can maintain their love even if they are very far away. And when we discuss those topics, and as Ms. New Queen just shared with us, it's important that we choose the most reliable platform, and we have methods to protect our privacy. We should protect our body. We should avoid exposing our identifiable traits and give the bad people no opportunities to harm you. Thank you, Win. We have listened to young people joining us today, their views and many solutions for the issues of image-based abuse. Now may I get back to Mr. Matt Jackson. What do you think about the knowledge of young people today regarding image-based abuse, and regarding the solutions that the young people have shared? What do you feel about the solution?
Well, thank you very much. It's been great listening to everyone this morning so far. Some really excellent suggestions from Ling, from Uyen, from Quing about what individuals can do to better protect themselves online, but also, importantly, to protect each other. And I think that support that we show online, demonstrating the behaviours that we expect others to see online, is really fundamental to this. And certainly that includes calling out harmful messages or abuse when we see it, reporting it, as was mentioned earlier, but also trusting our instincts and thinking twice before we share anything that may be private or personal. So really thinking about what we do online just as we would on a banking app, or if we had an unknown email with a link attached to it. We'd think twice before clicking on that. So think twice before we share things in a very public domain. I also want to share that from UNFPA's perspective, UNFPA is the United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency. We recently launched a campaign exactly on this topic called Body Right, #BodyRight. And this is essentially a movement against image-based abuse. And I invite everyone watching to join Body Right campaign and to follow the campaign online. And really, this is about pushing technology companies to think more about how they can protect users online, and pushing governments to think about how they can also protect users online, but also respond quickly when something goes wrong. We've also produced some technical guidance, reports, we've conducted research into the effects of this and what different countries and organisations are doing. And there's a really good example from Australia, from the E-Safety Commissioner, which is an independent regulator and the world's first government agency dedicated to online safety. And their work includes investigating online abuse, especially through complaints, supporting survivors of technology-facilitated gender-based violence, but also providing education and training. And this whole package really helps to become more aware of the risks of online, but also just to be online with a lot more safety. And also across Asia and the Pacific region, UNFPA is working to address gaps in the response to image-based abuse and technology-facilitated gender-based violence. We're working to enhance awareness of digital safety and security, and also establish standards for tech products. And I think all of these things together can help us to be much more safe online.
Xin cảm ơn những chia sẻ của ông Matt Jackson. Và cũng có thể thấy là thông qua phần trao đổi.
Thanks to Mr. Matt Jackson. As you have seen, UNFPA in Vietnam is now taking initiatives to prevent and minimize image-based abuse and call for young people to take a more active role in these efforts. Now back to Phương Uyên and Linh, your young people. Do you have any initiatives, any ideas in order to mobilize your friends, your families and relatives to join hands to end image-based abuse together with UNFPA? Phương Uyên, what do you think? So I'm young people, a young person. I'm working in a youth-led organization. And this year, our institution, Love Voyage, have a topic which we focus on how we care for our body during reproductive and sexual activities. And we believe that we can mainstream stories and skills on how we can protect ourselves, our privacy. We organize workshops, we organize festivals, and we always mainstream those messages. We also plan to organize a campaign on ending the situation in Vietnam when there's a kind of a dark clips posted on the internet. Many users always have a comment, may I have the link, which is a very inappropriate action. So we want to launch a campaign against those kind of inappropriate response and actions that may lead to the spreading of images of people without their consent. And there's also the situation of using deepfakes images, and people just use Photoshop to create an image of a victim for the purpose of extortion. So we also launching campaign in order to ask the public to report those activities, because as parents, for example, we fear that our children may be the victim of such action. Our own action may be just a small part, but if we can call for an entire community to join, the impact will be much larger. Thank you, Phương Uyên. We understand that actions such as asking for links to pornographic clips, sometimes it's just a kind of a casual comments, but they may inflict tremendous impact on victims and others. So, Linh, do you have any messages that you want to share with the young people who are contributing to a safer online space? Thank you. I fully agree with what has been shared by Uyên and our panelists. As a young student and working in the field of public media, so we really want to share the message that we should join hands to take action, and we should all make informed choices, and let's work together for a safer e-environment. So I think Linh, she has very concise but meaningful messages. You say something like light will be created by choices. So choices creates light. And another message you want to share is that let's join hands for safety on all spaces. Thank you so much, Linh. So today, Thúy Quỳnh, I'm the MC. I have asked so many questions for you, but now let's empower our audience. Let's let them ask questions. so that to make sure that this is really a webinar and really an exchange of view. Now back to you. So according to the organizing committee, we have received initial questions from the audience. So allow me to keep them anonymous, but the question is, to our panelists, do you have any policy recommendation from, from your perspective, from the perspective of your institution? How can we create a better and safer environment for a user? So I think this first relates to tech firms, right? And so may I direct this question to Quỳnh first? Sure. From my perspective, tech firms, particularly social media firms and governments, there are many things they can do and work with each other to better protect online spaces, particularly for young people. First, I think tech firms and governments can work with each other to create a legal corridor and frameworks concerning e-safety, particularly for adolescents and children. Because social media firms, they are richly experienced and they have data regarding trends, habits of users, and the trends of image-based abuse form. So those information will be very vital for designing policies that are more tailored to social needs. Tech firms can also utilize their strengths because they have many channels to distribute information and reach out to users. They have hundreds of millions of users, so they can work with governments to organize a public communication program to improve the skills for users. Because when we talk about image-based abuse, it depends a lot on whether users know how to protect themselves in an active way. So that's what we should aim for and what tech firm really can do. Thank you, Quỳnh. I think this is a question that brings about, that is actually a reminder for tech firm as well. Another question, we're waiting for your responses and interactions. So we have another question, fascinating question. What are the factors, the risk factors? What are the factors that we should pay attention to diagnose whether we are actually a victim of image-based abuse? So what are the risk factors? What are the signs that tell us we are being abused? Quỳnh, again, let's back to you with a very technological laden question. As our MC say, this is not a simple question. So in my experiences operating CyberKit Vietnam, we receive many cases of young people being abused on online spaces. There are two trends. First, regarding purposeful attack against an individual. So the victims know that their image are being abused, because then perpetrators often tell them that you are being attacked by means of sextortion, hate speech, and sharing images with malicious intention. So in those situations, you are fully aware that you are being abused. But there's another trend. We have a kind of large-scale mass attack. So some perpetrators just collect massive amount of images on the internet, and they have them edited, and then they share those on dark websites and on closed groups, on sex chatting groups. So it's very difficult for individuals to know their images are being abused. And sometimes the victim is totally unaware of that situation until he or she is informed by somebody else. So my advice that you need to take precaution to protect yourself first. Thank you for your answer, Queen. But I'm also curious. So if you are a young person, if you face that situation, how can you identify, Phương Nguyên, how can you identify, is there any way you can alert yourself that you are a victim? So from my personal experience and from watching others, there's a way to know. So the most common way is that when our friends and relatives send us images or videos, so the deepfakes videos, and then we often, sometimes we either told us about a deepfake videos about some friend of us. So in that case, we often take action. We inform the victims as quickly as we can. And there's other things, as Quỳnh mentioned. So if some images are used via Telegram or closed chat rooms, where they are shared, where videos and images are shared on closed group, it's very difficult for us to know if we are the victim. So again, it boils down to the question, so whether we take enough precaution to protect our privacy and safety. Thank you, Phương Nguyên. The same question for Diệu Linh. We want to ask the same question for Diệu Linh. So, similar to the situation in the mini game, have you encountered a similar situation in real life? So, allow me to share with you something that I recently witnessed. I have a friend. Originally, she suffered body shaming, but then there's a group. They form a close chat group. They took her picture and body shamed her on that chat group about her body, about her hairstyle, about her clothes. And then she began realizing that somebody must be bad-mouthing her behind her back. And she began to develop feeling of anxiety and self-blaming. So, emotion controls and have an impact on our action. And I used to be a victim of body shaming, and I also developed a feeling of self-blaming. But then I realized that my friend is also a victim as well. So the only thing I can do is to tell her that in this case, you are not to blame. You have the right to be protected. There's nothing at fault here. So I want to prevent her from blaming herself. But I'm just a friend. So I doubt that what I say can fully convince her. And that's why I think it's so important that everyone facing the same problems should connect with each other, and if we have a community of who can share and console others, it will be much better. So it's, in my view, it's important that we have more webinars of this kind, which will be a platform to support young people psychologically. It will be very helpful. Thank you, Linh. for sharing your stories and your experiences from the stories and experiences you share, and those are shared by Uyên. We fully understand that we need to have more webinars of this kind in the future. And ladies and gentlemen, no matter how hard we try, but we cannot achieve success without you, without your interaction and support. And in that case, it will be very difficult to achieve the goal of all spaces are safe. We have received more questions and interaction. Thank you very much for actively engaging with us. We have listened to our panelists sharing about risk factors and signs that allow us to see whether we are currently a victim of image-based abuse. Sometimes it's just a matter of body shaming of some words, but sometimes it can be more complex form. There's a question asking us if our image is abused by a firm, a company using our images for commercial purposes without our consent. Now, may I direct the question to CyberKit and Mrs. Quinn. So when we know that our images are being used against our consent for malicious and commercial purposes, I think we should directly or reach out to persons with experience and with the ability to solve the problem. The police, with your provincial departments of communication information, those are the agencies with experiences and with the authority to deal with the problem. And you should not try to solve this yourself. This requires many hands. So I'm wondering, image-based abuse, whether it is confined to a particular age, or whether everyone can be a victim. So in my view, everyone can be a victim of image-based abuse. Some images, some perpetrators used images even of toddlers and infants, and even a very old person. And sometimes we have the assumptions that women and girls are more susceptible to image-based abuse, but even boys and men can also be a victim. So back to the questions, everyone can be a victim. So that's why everyone needs to prepare yourself. The reason I asked this question to CyberKit because I just received a question from the audience. So is there any research on the age that is most vulnerable to image-based abuse, and whether we should have solutions that are age-specific? And we want to direct this question to an UNFPA representative to Vietnam, Mr. Matt Jackson.
Thank you very much. I mean, first of all, the important thing to mention is that if this does happen to you, it's not your fault. We know that it can be very distressing and very worrying and causing increased levels of anxiety. So the important thing to remember is it's not your fault, and there are channels that can help you, and there is support that is out there. We've heard from other panelists as well today about the importance of trusting your instincts and thinking before you take a particular step online, but also the importance of staying calm. We are responsible for our own emotions and our own reactions. And it's important to remember not to try and do something that could potentially make a situation worse. But this is all within the context of a digital space that is within our reach, and it's something that we can certainly have a lot more control over, and certainly a digital space that is there to enable us to achieve more and to learn more, whether that be for education, for work, for social interaction. There are huge numbers of possibilities and opportunities created by the digital space. And I think some of the most common negative impacts are ones that to some extent we can control, and for others there are ways to report it, to call it out, and as Ling was saying, to keep evidence of where this may happen.
Vậy thì không biết được rằng là từ kinh nghiệm của
Mr. Matt Jackson, from the perspective of UNFPA in dealing with image-based abuse, do you have any recommendation for Vietnam, for the government of Vietnam in policy terms? What should we have?
UNFPA is working on various fronts. We have supported a 24/7 hotline run by the National Farmers Union that provides, as I say, 24/7 support for those who are suffering from gender-based violence. We've also been working with young people. For example, we went to FPT University in Hanoi, where we talked about online violence and digital harassment to raise awareness, and also to provide a space for students, for young people, to share their experiences and their best practices of how they can remain safe online. We're also working with different parts of the government of Vietnam to provide services and support for survivors of gender-based violence. UNFPA has provided financial and technical support to set up the first one-stop service centres across Vietnam. We have them now in 4 provinces, in Quang Ninh, in Thanh Hóa, Da Nang and Ho Chi Minh City, where survivors of gender-based violence, whether that be digital violence or violence in the real world, can seek support and referrals, as well as medical attention and legal advice for whatever they need. And we're hoping to set up at least another 2 in the next year or so.
Xin cảm ơn những chia sẻ của ông Matt Jackson, trưởng đại diện Quỹ Dân số.
Thank you, Mr. Matt Jackson, UNFPA representative to Vietnam. Your words have been very encouraging to us. And even more encouraging is that we have received lots of questions and clear interest from the audience. We have more questions, more interactions every minute, and we are very delighted. And your interactions is actually the source of inspiration for us to strive more to create an even safer online environment for women and girls. That said, because of the time limit, we're unable to respond to all your questions today. But as long as you have shared questions with us, we will try to get back to you via on our chat box online or another webinar providing even more information for you. And thank you very much for staying tuned. Soon we will have an announcement of the winners of the mini game MpowerHer. But before that, may I ask each panelist to share a message, a concluding message, or anything that you want to say to the audience. First, Quỳnh, the tech specialist. So if a message I have shared with you, lots of kind of technical information, and it may sound scary, but by the end I want to emphasize that when you face problems, and as Matt said, you must understand that it's not your fault. You are not the one to blame, and there are many channel experts who will be willing and ready to help you overcome those problems. So protect ourselves, equip yourself with knowledge to use the online space more safely. So I have some advice for young girls who are in a distant relationship. And so I want you to make sure that both of you, when you share images using sexting, it must be based on a high level of comfort and mutual trust. And girls, you have the rights to your images. No matter what the situation is, sexting is just a choice. It's not mandatory. So love yourself, love your body, and we will always be here to help you. Mr. Mark Jackson. Vâng, thông điệp của tôi với tất cả mọi người là
to action to protect our bodies and our images online. Body right. This is in our hands, and I think it's really important to support each other in this, to look after your friends, as well as other people who are online. Our body right is our right.
Vâng, và xin mời Linh.
So my message is that social media can be a strong tool to connect with others, but it's also a place where your images can be abused. And for that reason, my message is that make choices and think carefully, actively. So light is within your choices. Thank you, Ling, and thank you all panelists for joining us today. As we say at the beginning, in the final minutes, we will announce the list of winners of the mini games MpowerHer, and I think this is the part that many people have been waiting for. We are very impressed that many contestants are very knowledgeable and passionate with this MpowerHer interaction mini game. So allow me to announce the winners. Let's start with the third prize. The following winners: Ngọc Anh, Tóc Vàng ơi, or Mrs. Blondie, and Khánh Lê Mai. Those are the third prize winners of the mini games. And the runners up, we want to congratulate the two following accounts: Nguyễn Hà and Khánh Linh, two runner-ups, for showing determination, who really inspired us to fight against image-based abuse. And the winner, so somebody who's have really been dedicated and have offered wonderful solutions to how to prevent abuse. The winners is Diệu Linh, and she is, as you see, the one who has been with us today, and she has impressed both the judges and the audience. And congratulations to Diệu Linh once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we really want to stay more with you, to have more discussion with you today, but all webinars must have an end. But that said, although we have come to an end of today's webinar, but the issue of image-based abuse does not end here. We need more action to create a safe environment on all spaces. And so let's access UNFPA channels to have more information. Let's join hands together to create a world where all spaces are safe. Let's take action to create changes right from today. Thank you for watching, and see you again with UNFPA Vietnam.